Good day to you, partner. I'm keen, and I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this forsaken camp.
Hey guys, Lead Solo here, aka the Skeleton King. So, I was listening to some pretty sick jazz while I was doing this, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna leave it in the video. And if you don't like jazz, you can leave, because I am more into jazz than I ever been in my whole life. So we're gonna hear music from Weather Report, Jaco Pastorius, and Herbie Hancock. This is going to be my first reveal of this build. The gear is pretty simple. You get plus skill gear everywhere. As you can see, none of it's that special. And then the soul drainers are important because you do want Fizz Pierce, because we're not actually using summons that much, okay? As you can see, I even only have 1 point in Summon Grizzly. I'll come back to that because Grizzly is a good ability. Max out Poison Creeper, max out Carrion Vine. 1 point Heart of Wolverine, max out Spirit of Barbs. And then I decided to max out Oak Sage. Now, I don't even think you necessarily need a Spirit Keeper with this build, but Oak Sage is just such nice quality of life. And in fact, there's some other really good helms that we're going to talk about on this build. And then I just went 1 point Lycanthropy, and then I got Hunger, and that's where all my remaining points went. I'm not sure what's the best option. Probably if you had GG gear, it would be faster to play a wolf build, but you'd lose a lot of defense, but you probably wouldn't need the defense because as you're going to see, I have an absolute metric ton of defense. There's no insane swaps on this build, okay guys? So, don't complain about that. And one of the best things about this, and why really no one can complain about this, is I'm going to pick up every item, I'm going to open up every stash, I'm going to ID everything, corr, organize, do it all. Okay, one time I had a guy tell me, my maps don't count until I corr everything. So guess what? This time, I'm doing it. So this map counts. Merc gear is pretty standard. Now on an ATD build, you don't need to run an Act 2 Merc because, amplified damage does buff your thorns or attacker takes damage, so that's really good. I felt like EMILIO with, silence and Bramble was overall better. And in fact, I don't even really want to attack with this build. The only reason I'm attacking is because my gear is not quite optimal. By the way, this incredible bass playing is Jaco Pastorius, but I'm going to put on a little bit of Manchild by Herbie Hancock, and we're going to be jamming out to that for the rest of the run. So again, I pick up everything, okay guys? And I still get a sub 12 map. As you can see, the mods were really not that good. I don't care. Now technically, letting a whole bunch of Stygian dolls explode on top of me still doesn't feel good. But as my gear got better, I think I wouldn't even notice. And that's one of the coolest things about this build, is that you don't need to attack, and people seem to have this idea about summoners, that they're the best AFK class in the game, and I don't really think that's true. Now, in the sense that technically you don't need to play except move around, yes, but if you've ever played a GG build in this game, a lot of them you just push one button and then, hold through the entire map. Summoners don't really do that. And in fact, I don't think summoners are actually that good. What's the word for it? At being AFK, because they will randomly die. This build is actually really good at being AFK. Now, funny enough, you may have noticed I almost died there. Archer packs just kind of be like that. It was probably bad luck. I think there might have been an aura. I definitely had amp on me. And for some reason, the damage spike was just really high. Now, as you can see, my life is super low. So that could be way better. And, attacking doesn't do that much. So let's go ahead and talk about the weapon and whether that's the best in slot. Now, there's not a lot of other options. It's basically Guardian Naga. I'll put that on the screen at some point. But the reason I'm using a Stormlash is because Stormlash has Static Field and Crushing Blow, both incredible abilities. So like, yeah, I could just play this build and identify things and open stuff up and be right in the middle of combat and basically have no fear, you know, thanks to having about 18,000 defense. One of the cool things is that when my gear gets better, like I get more life, etc., like my swap wasn't crazy, right? I changed a helm, an amulet, and 2 charms. Technically I could go crazy on swapping, but I was never a fan of swapping out charms, but technically you could do that to shapeshift to get a lot more life and a lot more defense. And so like this build would be insane on hardcore. Now, do I think this build is viable budget? Yes, as long as you can get to about plus 20 Poison Creeper, Spirit of BORBs, you can start actually playing this build and it works pretty well. And then let's kind of talk about why I started playing this build at all, as opposed to just playing your standard Doodoo summoner. So first, you know, Ravens suck, okay? I'm sorry, they're not good. They're pretty good single target, that's it. Having to recast them all the time is annoying, their splash radius just isn't that good. Now, one of the other problems with them is they don't really scale with auras. Like, you know, the bears do, the wolves do. And so the more auras you get, the less good your ravens are. And if anybody out there is like, well, ravens, you know, carry you through normal. You know what's even better carrying you through normal? Poison Creeper. You know what's even better carrying you through Nightmare? Poison Creeper. So, technically you could play this build through Hell Clear. I think it would be a little slow at first, but I ran a pretty bad version of this and was able to do a lot of LOD farming pretty reasonably. So if I don't like ravens, okay, and I don't even think they're that good in normal or nightmare, and let's say you don't want to run Poison Creeper yet, what about Spirit Wolves? Spirit Wolves are pretty good, you get 5 of them, they have pretty high base damage. Bears are insane. They ignore idle on some attacks, which means they attack faster than most summons in this game, and they're just really, really good and have a large splash radius. But the problem is, Enraged Dire Wolves absolutely stink. There's only 3 of them, and they're actually worse than Spirit Wolves 1-to-1. So it's not like 5 Spirit Wolves are better than 3 Dire Wolves. 1 Spirit Wolf is better than 1 Dire Wolf. Not only that, 1 Spirit Wolf is better than 1 Dire Wolf who has enraged himself by eating a corpse. So they're trash too. And you only get 3 of them, so that means they don't benefit that much from auras, because you're only buffing 3 minions. One of the other overall issues with Doodoo is that the summons are just way too slow, but let's just ignore that for now. If I'm not going to put points in the Raven, and I'm not going to put points into Enraged Dire Wolf, now all of a sudden we got 40 points. So we can get Poison Creeper, and we can max out Heart of the Wolverine. That's what I actually think would be the best, more standard summon build. Now, where would your remaining points go? At that point, it's kind of up to you. You can't really run Spirit of Orb without going full in on it. The damage on the skill itself only starts to get good around like 30 plus, because you know the 28 plus level scaling in this game of skills, right? And then the synergy is really important too. Having a synergy that basically times it by 2. ATD is something where like 5,000 isn't enough. Like 8,000, you'll start to feel like you're doing something. And then when you get to like 12,000, you're like, hey, I'm kind of close to one-shotting almost every mob in these maps. So if you're playing the more standard version, I do honestly think, by the way, this is a great shield. Like, the Heaven's Brethren set is actually just a great set, so I wanted to highlight it real quickly. And I'm also really happy that budget sets are getting more play than they ever have in this season. Topwig is running them a bit, and other people have as too. I had somebody message me saying that they use Sazabi's chest and helm for their Poison Nova build budget. I just wanted to flex that real quickly because it brings me joy. And actually, these sets have uses, like even in-game, as Topwig is showing. Sorry. So if you were playing the traditional summoner build, your remaining points, or the way I would build the traditional summoner build, excuse me. So, you know, I'd max Poison Creeper first, then I'd max Bear, then I'd max Spirit Wolf, then I'd max Heart of the Wolverine. The remaining points really would be up to you. Probably your best bet is just to get Gust and Enraged Dire Wolf. The more fun option is to get Shapeshifting. But not having a teleport really, really sucks, and trust me, I understand. One of the reasons why I finally stopped using summons at all on this build, because at first I was actually putting 20 points in the bear. Now we can kind of segue into why this build doesn't have any summons, because I'm a huge fan of bears. In fact, I think bears are a 20-point wonder, just like I think Poison Creeper is a true 20-point wonder. I cut out bears because they're too slow, and without teleporting too often, they weren't being effective enough. One of the other issues is, when you start to get really deep into an ATD build, you have to understand that a lot of the ATD damage actually comes from the gear you're wearing on your own character. So like, I've got 4,000 damage from Spirit of Barbs. I've got like 3,000 damage from EMILIO's Thorns. So every single minion on this screen gives about 6,000 to 7,000 damage to an enemy every time they get struck. I think it's more on the 6,000 side of things. The other 6,000 damage is actually just from gear that's on my body. So I actually really want minions to hit me. So you may go, well, Wheat Solo, why have pets at all? Well, that's a good point. It's because you still want more things on the screen for things to hit. Okay? So it's kind of a... I don't know really how to min-max that. Now, as you saw on the screen, I put up corruptions. Why would I put up corruptions? Well, Razortail actually sucks. Why? Razortail only gives you 1 ATD per character level, but the belt corruption gives you 2 to 4. So basically, a Verdungos, which is what I'm wearing now, can give you way more PDR, vitality, and 4 attacker takes damage based on character level, or 4 times as much as a Razortail. Now you may be thinking to yourself, oh, Wheat Solo, couldn't a Razortail have 5? Yes, I haven't found one. As you can see, also Shield and Chest can have that corruption as well. So those would be like actually BIS, is to have a Steel Carapace with your ATD character level corruption, and then 2 sockets of course. And then a shield with the ATD corruption and 2 sockets. Because my shield and Carapace are actually pretty good for this build. And the Carapace, I guess, is meh. But as you saw, I put up a Jewel. Jewels really don't have that much attacker takes damage. In fact, the max roll is 40. Now, I assume the Jewels can double roll, but I haven't seen one yet. So that's why I think it's actually better to prioritize the attacker takes damage corruption and then sockets. Now, I bring up Soul Drainers again. I actually went with those. And there are 2 other options for your gloves that are really, really good. One of them I'm going to show later, but Hellmouth has way more attacker takes damage, or actually, sorry, has attackers takes damage. But the reason I went with Drainers is because I'm almost positive that minus physical pierce on me affects the amount of damage that enemies take when they strike me. And again, when they strike me, that's the best anyways. Like literally there's a world where I could cut out summons, and that could be optimal. I'm really not sure on that, unfortunately. And Drainers also have life and Mana Leech. Now we've got a couple of different helms on the screen. All of them are viable. As I said, I don't think Spirit Keeper's necessarily that good. It is really nice to have a really juiced up Oak Sage, but as my gear gets better, I'm going to need that life way less. We got a Ferocity, a Blackhorn's helm, and then a Blackthorn's mask. Now, the Blackhorn's helm would only be if you were running an Act 5 Merc. Thorns, as you saw earlier, okay, has a synergy, and then 2 Mercs synergize with Thorns, the Act 2 EMILIO and Act 5 Might. So if you did run an Act 5 Might Merc, you could put that helm on him, and that would probably be worth it. But the more interesting choice in-game would be to run Ferocity. Why? Because Taunt would keep enemies engaged on you. You may be wondering why I'm running a Royal Crypt. And as far as I can tell, this is by far the best map for this build, because the enemies are pretty squishy, they don't have high physical res, even though it says the max one is 80. They're just squishy enough, and most of them have low enough res that it just goes so quick. But on maps like Fleg, which yes, I know that the Siege Beasts are really bad, we'll skip those. Fallens just run away, and there's just no way I'd want to kill them all. Well, Taunt would keep Fallen staying on me, and then dying. Now, you saw Steel Rends, right? Why are Steel Rends such a big deal? Crushing Blow. What procs Crushing Blow? Innocence. What else does Innocence proc? Stormlash. That's coming soon. Skeleton King out. GG.